Have you ever had the strange feeling that you're seeing more than you should, as if the world around you moves according to an invisible script, yet you can perceive the unspoken lines, the barely noticeable gestures, the weight hiding behind a smile? It's as if the fabric of reality suddenly thins before your eyes, and you can slip through it, witnessing truths others turn away from. This ability is not common. It's not something you choose, and often it doesn't even feel like a gift, but a quiet sentence you must serve. You may not realize it yet, but this could mean you carry something rare, a consciousness that doesn't live on the surface, but dives, even when you wish it wouldn't. A consciousness that sees, feels, and perceives at a different frequency. Today, we'll walk together through 7 clear signs that you might be one of the few who hold it. And the first sign may be the most dangerous of them all. You never asked for this awareness. It didn't arrive wrapped as a gift. It crept in quietly, like a shadow that never leaves. While others move through life content with the surface, you find yourself drawn to the depths, even when you'd rather float on calmer waters. There is no switch to turn it off, no way to simply not notice. Once you see, you cannot unsee. Once you feel, you cannot unfeel. And so, you live with it, this rare sensitivity that seems to have chosen you. Some days, it feels like a compass, guiding you toward truths others overlook. Other days, it's a weight that presses against your chest, making it harder to breathe in a world that insists on masks and shallow exchanges. But whether you see it as a blessing or a burden, it shapes everything. How you connect, how you love, how you suffer. Today, we're going to name it, to walk through 7 unmistakable signs that you carry this rare consciousness within you. We'll explore how it moves, how it hides, how it calls you to live differently. And if you recognize yourself here, you'll know you're not imagining it. You've been seeing the world through a lens most will never understand. And that's where our first sign begins. It begins in silence. Not the silence of an empty room, but the silence beneath the noise, the muted hum of truths people will not speak. You notice it in the way their eyes shift when they lie, in the crack of a voice that insists it's fine, in the hollow smile that bends just a little too quickly. Most walked past these details without pause, but not you. You catch them all, as if your senses have been tuned to a different frequency, one that picks up what others are desperate to hide. Jung might have called this a dangerous perception. Dangerous not in the sense of weaponry, but in its ability to unsettle the delicate illusions people live inside. You see through the performance, and once you do, you can't unsee it. It is like knowing the trick behind the magician's act. The wonder fades, replaced by the raw machinery of reality. And while others enjoy the show, you sit there, unable to pretend you don't know how it works. This awareness comes without permission. It's not something you can turn off or decide not to use. Even in moments where you wish to stay on the surface, the depth pulls you in. You read between lines that were never meant for you. You detect fractures in voices you've just met. And you find yourself asking, is it a blessing to see or a curse to know too much? But the perception is only the first layer. Once you've tasted what lies beneath the surface, shallow waters no longer satisfy. Small talk feels like air. You can breathe it, but it will never feed you. The endless cycle of polite greetings, scripted exchanges, and meaningless filler becomes unbearable. You crave what is rare. Conversations where every word carries weight, where honesty costs something, where both people leave the table changed. This craving isolates you. While others find comfort in keeping things light, you grow restless. You would rather sit in a silence thick with unspoken truths than waste breath on empty words. People sometimes call you intense, as if it were an insult. But you know it's not intensity for its own sake. It's hunger for something real, and you've never been good at pretending otherwise. And yet, there's a cost to even the real moments. Because when you do connect, you don't just listen, you absorb. Every room has its own emotional weather, And without meaning to, you become its sky. Around happy people, your chest feels lighter, as if sunlight is pouring through it. Around anxious people, you feel the static buzzing in your skin. Around grief, you feel the heaviness seep into your bones, slow and unshakable. You don't just witness emotion, you wear it. It clings to you like the scent of smoke after a fire. Sometimes, after a day spent with others, you come home and feel like your soul has been carrying a backpack of invisible stones. It's not your weight to bear, but it's on you all the same. You tell yourself it's empathy, but deep down, you know it's more than that. It's absorption. And so you've learned to seek solitude, not as an escape from people, but as a way to return to yourself. In the quiet, you peel off the layers of other people's feelings, letting your own heartbeat emerge again. Alone, you remember the sound of your own thoughts. Alone, you can finally set down the emotions that were never yours. These three forces, the dangerous perception, the intolerance for the superficial, and the burden of emotional absorption, form the first trial of a rare consciousness. To see too much, to want more than most can give, and to feel what isn't yours to carry. They sharpen you, yes, but they also wear you thin. And if you know this weight, you know it's not something the world hands out lightly. Because carrying it changes you. It turns you into someone who walks through life both inside and outside of it, a participant, but also an observer. You see the play and the audience at the same time. And once you've lived this way, there's no going back. You've learned how to adapt. Not in the casual way most people adjust to a change in scenery, but in the deeper, quieter way of becoming exactly what the moment demands. Around family, you slip into one version of yourself. Around colleagues, you wear another skin entirely. In different circles, you tell different parts of your story, editing as needed to fit. You do it so well that people rarely suspect the transformation, but you know. And it leaves you tired in a way sleep can't fix. This shape-shifting is not deceit, it's survival. From an early age, you understood that certain truths about you would not be welcomed everywhere. You learned the subtle art of self-erasure, shaving off your edges to fit into the frame others had prepared for you. And while this adaptability has helped you navigate a world that often feels alien, it has also left you wondering, if I am everything to everyone, then who am I to myself? Sometimes in the quiet hours, the answer comes back as an ache. You can feel all the versions of yourself pulling in different directions, each one demanding energy, each one believing it is the real you. And yet, in moments of raw honesty, you admit that none of them hold your full truth. They are fragments, shards of a mirror that has been broken and rearranged too many times. But every now and then, something interrupts this fragmentation. It happens suddenly, without warning. A look, a word, a spark of recognition in someone's eyes. You meet a person who doesn't just see the version you've chosen to show, they see through it. And in that instant, all your masks feel useless. They speak, and it's as if they are speaking directly to the unedited you, the one buried under years of careful performance. This is what it feels like to encounter a kindred soul. You don't need a long history or shared experiences or even much conversation. There's a frequency to it, an unspoken I know that hums between you. And when it happens, it's disarming. You may find yourself saying things you've never told anyone else, not because you planned to, but because something inside you finally feels safe enough to come out. These encounters are rare. Weeks, months, even years can pass without one. But when they do occur, they leave you changed. Sometimes it's a friendship, sometimes a love, sometimes just a single night's conversation that echoes in your mind for years. It doesn't matter how long it lasts. The recognition is what matters. And it's not always comfortable. A kindred soul can also be a mirror, reflecting not just your beauty, but your shadows, your fears, your contradictions. They hold up the parts of you you've been hiding, even from yourself, and they do it without malice, simply because they can't help but see them. In this way, they strip away your camouflage, leaving you both exposed and strangely relieved. You might resist this at first. It's not easy to stand bare in someone else's sight after a lifetime of careful editing. But part of you knows this is what you've been craving, to be seen in full, without distortion. And so, whether you lean into the connection or walk away, the encounter leaves its mark. The chameleon and the mirror. The self that adapts to survive, and the rare other who sees through every disguise. Together, these two forces shape the second truth of a rare consciousness, that while you can become anyone in any room, the deepest relief comes only when you can finally be no one else but yourself. There is something that keeps pulling at you. It doesn't shout. It doesn't arrive with fireworks or announcements. It whispers, steadily, persistently, so softly that others might mistake it for background noise, but you know better. You've heard it your whole life, beneath the changing seasons and shifting priorities. It's the one thing that never fades, no matter how much you try to ignore it. This is the call. Not a career path, not a fleeting ambition, not even a personal dream, but something deeper. A sense that you are here for more than survival, more than routine, more than playing the roles handed to you. You might not have the full picture yet, but you can feel its weight. It's a purpose that feels too large to fit inside a single lifetime. The world around you often tells a different story. It tells you to aim for stability, comfort, and recognition. It celebrates the neatly packaged lives that can be summed up in a resume or a title. But when you try to fit yourself into those containers, something inside you goes silent. The whisper disappears, and with it, your sense of being truly alive. That silence is unbearable. So you find yourself circling back. No matter how far you wander, the path bends toward the same center. You try different jobs, different places, different versions of yourself, but all of them eventually feel like detours. The call has a way of finding you, tugging at you when you least expect it, in the middle of a conversation, in a quiet moment before sleep, in the pause between one breath and the next. Following it isn't easy. It asks for more than effort. It asks for authenticity. It demands that you strip away the parts of yourself that exist only for approval. It forces you to make choices that might look irrational to others, choices that could cost you relationships, status, even security. And yet, not following it would cost you something greater, your own truth.
Some days, you wish you could trade it for something simpler. You look at people who seem content with the script they've been given and wonder what it would be like to never question it. But you know that's not your path. The call is part of you. Denying it would be like denying your own heartbeat. There is both beauty and danger here. Beauty because living in alignment with this purpose will make every struggle meaningful. Danger because chasing it means stepping into the unknown without guarantees. But perhaps that's the point. This purpose isn't about certainty. It's about faith. Not in an abstract sense, but in the deep, embodied knowing that you are exactly where you need to be, even when the map is blank. Over time, you begin to realize that the purpose isn't something you find, it's something you become. It's shaped in the choices you make, the risks you take, the truth you refuse to abandon. It's not a single moment of arrival, but a lifelong act of becoming. And maybe that's why it feels larger than a life, because it will continue to ripple outward even after you're gone. To carry a purpose like this is to live in constant conversation with something bigger than yourself. It's to wake each morning knowing there is work to be done, even if you can't yet name it. And it's to walk through the world with the quiet certainty that your life, in all its struggles and contradictions, is not random. It's a response to a call that will not let you rest.
We've walked through the first 5 signs together.
the dangerous perception that lets you see beyond the mask, the hunger for truth that makes shallow waters feel suffocating, the way you absorb emotions until they become your own, the constant shape-shifting to survive in different worlds, and the rare electric recognition when you meet another soul like yours. If you've seen yourself in these moments, then you know this is not coincidence. These are not random quirks. They are threads of the same tapestry, woven by something deeper than chance. And now we step into the final stretch, the truths that explain why you carry all of this in the first place. But before we continue, I want to know you're still here with me, walking this road, step by step. Leave a comment below saying, "I'm still here." It's not just a phrase, it's a declaration that even after everything you've carried, everything you've seen, you remain. And while you're here, subscribe to the channel, not for algorithms or numbers, but because there's more ahead, and I don't want you to miss the next step on this path.
Every story has its shadows. Yours are not exceptions. They are landmarks. You remember the moments that cut you open, the seasons where the ground disappeared beneath your feet, the days you could barely breathe under the weight of it all. The world told you to move on, to toughen up, to bury the pain deep where no one could see it. But the truth is, it never really left you. You carry your wounds differently now. They don't bleed the way they once did, but they haven't disappeared either. They have changed shape, from open scars into quiet, pulsing reminders. They are not pretty, they are not clean, but they are real. And in a strange way, they've become a compass you didn't know you needed. Because you recognize pain in others the way a seasoned traveler recognizes a road they've walked before. It doesn't need to be explained. You feel it in them, as surely as you once felt it in yourself. Their eyes carry the same heaviness. Their voice dips in the same places. Their silence feels like your own. This is why people open up to you, sometimes against their own expectations. They sense you've been somewhere they have, or somewhere close enough to understand. You don't offer them platitudes or rehearsed comfort. You offer presence. The kind that says, "I've been in the dark too, and I know the way out." It's here that your wound transforms. What once isolated you now becomes a bridge. The very sensitivity that made you feel like an outsider is what allows you to guide others. The hurt that once weakened you has become the ground you stand on when someone else's world is collapsing.
But this transformation didn't happen by accident. You chose it. You decided, consciously or not, that your suffering would not be wasted. That if you had to endure the fire, you would carry out light for someone else. And because of that choice, your pain became more than just a memory. It became medicine. Of course, it still aches sometimes. Even a healed bone knows the weather is changing. But you've stopped wishing for a life without these scars. You've learned they are part of your design. Not flaws, but fingerprints. Proof that you've been remade, not destroyed. This is the final sign of a rare consciousness, the wound as a gift. Not in a romanticized way, not as if suffering is inherently noble, but in the truth that what you survive can shape what you give. You have turned what was meant to silence you into a voice that others can follow. And maybe this is the quiet truth behind all 7 signs, that the very things that set you apart, that made life harder, are the same things that make your presence in this world irreplaceable.
At the beginning, I shared Jung's words.
He who looks outside dreams. He who looks inside awakens. Now, at the end of our walk, those words are no longer just a thought to admire. They are lived, felt. They've moved from the page into the space behind your ribs, where truths settle when they refuse to be forgotten. Awakening has never been about a sudden burst of light that burns away the dark. It's more like the first pale glow before dawn, faint at first, but enough to realize you can't go back to the blindness of night. You've seen too much now. You've felt too much. You've lived with your eyes open. It is not clean, this kind of seeing. It's messy, uncomfortable, and often lonely. It means walking through the world and noticing the cracks in its surface, hearing the things people never say out loud, carrying weights that don't belong to you but somehow end up in your hands. It means knowing that your sensitivity is not weakness, but it will make life harder, and yet you wouldn't trade it. Because these signs, these 7 truths we've walked through together, are not flaws. They are not mistakes. They are the fingerprints of your design, the architecture of your soul. They are the reasons you connect deeply, the reasons you can stand in the middle of someone else's storm without running, the reasons your presence can shift the air in a room even when you say nothing at all. The world will try to convince you to sand down those edges, to tuck away the parts that make you different, to trade the raw for the polished, the real for the palatable. But you have learned, perhaps the hard way, that a dulled version of yourself cannot answer the call you were born with. And there is a call, always. That call is why you've survived the nights you thought would swallow you whole, why you've stitched yourself back together after being torn apart, why you learned to make your own light when there was none to be found. It is the thread that has pulled you through every season, even the ones you didn't think you'd live to see. And this light, the one you've been carrying all this time, may not look like much to you, but to someone else, someone who is drowning in the same silence you once knew, it will be everything. Proof that the night does end. Proof that pain does not get the final word. Proof that they too can make it through. You don't carry this light because it's easy. You carry it because you understand its weight. You know what it costs to keep it burning. You know how quickly it can flicker in the wind. And still, you choose to protect it, even on the days when it feels like all you have left. That choice, more than anything else, is what makes you rare. Not the signs themselves, but the fact that you live them, bear them, and still open your hands to the world. You don't just survive your truth, you offer it. And that offering changes everything. So you walk on, not toward an ending, but toward a life lived with eyes open, heart uncovered, and light in hand. You may not know exactly where the path leads, but you know it is yours. And that is enough. Awakening is not the conclusion. It's the beginning of living fully awake. And now you are.
If you've walked with me to this point, then you already know you didn't find this message by accident. Something in you was ready to hear it. So, before we part for now, leave a comment below saying, "I choose my truth." Let it be more than words. Let it be your signature, a promise to yourself that you will not shrink, you will not soften your edges to fit where you don't belong, and you will not betray the voice that's been calling you all along. And since you've made it here, take a moment to watch our latest video, The Biggest Lie About Being Good You Still Believe, and What Diogenes Would Do to You, where we go even deeper into the illusions we live by and the courage it takes to shatter them. If you haven't subscribed yet, now's the time. Not for the numbers, not for the algorithm, but so you're here for the next step in this path we're walking together. Until next time, take care of your mind, your soul, and your truth. You're not alone on this path. Not anymore.